All right, everybody. Well, we are coming live with a special emergency podcast, the Freezin NFC North Podcast, episode 150 emergency pod. Micah Parsons traded to the Green Bay Packers from the Dallas Cowboys. We'll talk about that. And from a Bears fan, we have a Vikings fan here, and then eventually I think Miles is going to join us as the Packers fan. But hey, when you look at this, obviously we're going to get started, and as we join in on the action, where can you everyone find you, Dre?
You can hit me up on X. Pretty much that's it. It's at Skullman Sports.
Awesome. And you can find me NFLOutdated on Twitter X, on the TikTok Freezin4Pod, and also on YouTube at NFLOutdated. So, first of all, obviously the big news with Micah Parsons being traded to the Green Bay Packers. Everyone's like, oh, the Packers going to the Super Bowl, all this. I'm going to let you have the first crack at this as the Vikings guy. When you heard this news, Dre, what was your first reaction?
Honestly, it's not something I wanted. I've been saying, arguably out of the four NFC North teams that I wanted him to go for, there's honestly, with obvious bias, there's one team that I wanted him to go for. I didn't want him to go to anybody else, and it obviously went to the Packers, which obviously is not a good thing. Because obviously Parsons has a lot of skill, so it's kind of like I'm worried about that. If anything, he has a lot, and I like him a lot outside of the Cowboys. The Cowboys organization is what it is. I let that be known on X, but I don't know. I don't like it because it does bring a whole nother thing to the Packers defense. Having said that, we're a week and a half out. I don't know how good the defensive coordinator is of the Packers offhand, in the sense of being able to train or get him up. Nothing against Parsons. I think he could obviously pick up things, but I think we'll see what happens. I think if anything, this is going to be a bigger effect probably later, midway through the season, not later in the season than early on.
Well, and that's a great point. Obviously, I think obviously he's not a skill position. So on the defensive side of the ball like that, I think someone can jump in a little bit easier than if it's quarterback, wide receiver, running back type of thing. But there is going to be an issue. He's got to take time to his teammates and get you player. My coworkers and obviously I had some choice words with them. I was not very happy about it, and all that. I will not repeat those words on the air, but when I took a step back and when I finally saw what they were giving up, and obviously you Packers fans are like, oh, this is their Super Bowl ticket now, right? And I think the media is going to be all in on the Packers as darlings, especially now. This is not something the Packers usually do. They've done it. They've got Micah Parsons, but what did they give up from the Cowboys? 2 first-round picks and defensive tackle Kenny Clark. So to start there, obviously, Kenny Clark is not Micah Parsons, right? He's not Micah Parsons. But Kenny Clark, he really is, I think, an underrated player. In 2024, obviously, he only had the 1 sack, 20 tackles, and 2 forced fumbles, I believe. Kind of looking at that. 2023, he had 8 sacks. This guy, he is a solid player, and I believe from what I know, he is a locker room guy, and just a really stand-up player. Solid player that knows the defense, knows the scheme, and all that. And I heard my guy Greg Braggs from CHGO Bears talking about if it was the Bears, it would be the Bears, giving up obviously the first rounders and who one of the main people on their defensive line. And as a Bears fan, when I take a look at those first round picks, I mean, those are huge. I mean, those are huge, when you're continuing to build. And if the Packers are looking at this season all in, I get it. I don't know if they are ready to be all in for the Super Bowl or bust. But with the Bears, the player that was Jervon Dexter. The Bears give it to Jervon Dexter. He's a solid player. We're really looking for him to be huge on the defensive side of the ball this year. Obviously, when he was out last year, it was a problem for the defense. So for our Bears, my Bears defense. So I think Kenny Clark is underrated, and he's going to go to the Cowboys' shoulder. You're really kind of they're all in their wide receivers. I don't think their team is better, or is ready to take that step this year. What are your thoughts there, Dre?
I mean, I think you said it. I think the 2 first-round picks, even though they're obviously 2 years apart, that's a significant amount, because if you think about it, arguably, if they suck this year, let's just say, then they're going to be early on.
Mm-hmm.
That matters a lot. Or if they do decently this year, okay, later. But then how do you know how they're going to do the fall? First-round picks, that's. I mean, I've learned in fantasy, honestly, first round picks matter a lot. You have to actually sell it. The thing is that a lot of Vikings fans, and this is honestly before I've had a full thing, a lot of people are saying that this is Herschel Walker, Cowboys Vikings trade part 2.
For sure.
The Packers sent a lot for him. And not to say anything against Parsons, he's arguably he has a lot of skills. Yeah, we can hear you, Miles. But yeah, I think it's just it's a lot to send for him. He's a great player, don't get me wrong, but just 2 first-rounders, I don't know. And not to say the Cowboys did much better out of it. I think it's arguably, I think the Packers arguably won a little bit out of the trade, but it's a B trade for the Packers and then a C+ for the Cowboys.
Okay, so
very close.
So that's an interesting point. Obviously, hopefully my internet's a little bit better now. But we bring in Miles, who called this meeting, this quorum, to task. I'm glad you can join us, obviously, as the resident Packer guy. RevTrev, he's doing some of his stuff, and I'm sure we'll get his reaction next week as well. But, what was your live reaction, Miles, to hearing this news?
Oh, man. I got to say, I might have gotten one of the best ways of learning about this. And I was on Twitter when it happened. So it was kind of, I went from the clicking mode for the updates. What do we got? What do we got?
Yeah.
Where's the next, boob doctor that's got some kind of rumor, to I got a notification. So I got a lot of friends that are Cowboys fans, and some of my best friends are Cowboys fans. And one of my closest friends, he was getting after me in the comments of one of the things that I'd said. So, it's not going to happen. You're crazy.
Yeah.
And I got a notification that he commented back on that thread, and it was, a gif of, a crying gif. And I'm just like, wait, did it happen? And sure enough, as soon as I refreshed, it was just Micah. So it was pretty, man. I mean, listen, I was in college when they won the Super Bowl, so I did get to appreciate that to a pretty good extent. This was very close to that. Just the feeling of holy crap, did this really just happen?
So shout out to my guy RevTrev. He actually has someone he knows, I believe, that works for the Patriots. And he had told me yesterday, he said that it was making its way around the league, that this was going to happen on Thursday. I actually tweeted it out, but then deleted it because he's like, don't do that. And I'm like, because if I tweet it out, it's going to look weird. And I didn't want to, for Trev's sake. But obviously, when you have a trade of this magnitude, people talk. And so it was, I'm sure it's going to get out how people started to kind of know that this was gonna happen. But this is something that Packers rarely do, Miles. I mean, you have to be, obviously, the whole Reggie White comparison. Okay, but I mean, he is that kind of dominant player, so I'll give you that.
Well, And I just, I bring up Super Bowl because of the feeling of it. And I
For
think
sure.
that's probably where, the source of that is just the scarcity of something like this. Like fortunately, I've seen 2 Super Bowl wins in my lifetime. But most fans, they don't have that. Right. And it's a Super Bowl is hard to come by. And this is easily the biggest trade the Packers have made since Reggie White. And I guess that wasn't even a trade. That was a free agent signing. But I can't think of a bigger acquisition the Packers have had than this. I mean, this is massive. And it's totally uncharacteristic. So I think that was why it was easy to doubt that it was happening. But the right people were reporting things. You're just going, dang, these are nonsense people that are reporting this stuff,
Yep. Okay. So obviously the big news is him going to the Packers, Micah Parsons going to the Packers. I think, even as a Bears fan, that Kenny Clark is underrated. So tell me a little bit about what the Packers are going to miss in Kenny Clark.
Yeah, that was the one part of it that I was like, oh, dang, they gave up Kenny Clark. That was kind of a little bit out of left field for me. Now I will say, because I was speculating this trade last week on the Pack Weekly pod. It made sense to me if there was going to be a player involved, it would have either been interior D-line or offensive tackle. So that's where the Cowboys just don't have it. They either have a guy there or that's where they needed help. So as soon as I heard it, it made sense. But yeah, that one, was kind of a bummer. He was the elder statesman of the locker room, carried the G real hard, man. Like that guy was always there working hard, setting the example. You never heard a negative word from him. Even last year, we speculated a little bit, and there's been more confirmation coming out lately, but apparently the defensive line coach for the Packers last year was not liked at all. So that contributed to, I think, the poor performance of the D-line in general, and definitely for Kenny Clark. But yeah, I'm a fan of Kenny Clark, man. I think he's got a lot of years left in him. I don't think that this is a situation where it's, the Packers are getting out and he's done. He's been in the league for a while and he's not even 30 yet. He's about to turn 30. A dude like that, the Cowboys got a good one. And honestly, as much as I'd like to, kind of punch the Cowboys in the gut if I get a chance, they got a good one in him. And if they need someone to stabilize the culture in that locker room, which they probably do, he's a great one to have because, he commands respect. That's one of the things about him. He takes care of his business.
When I look at the Packers, obviously, as a Bears fan, I have not liked what my Bears for a while have done in the front office, and I think I have been jealous of what the Packers have done, and they've kind of seemed to make all the right moves here and there, and to kind of stay in contention, stay relevant, and all of that, But this almost seems like it's kind of like the new GM, correct? Kind of trying to, make his mark on things. Cause, obviously when you look at the Packers, they've been right there. Is this kind of, we have to take the next step now? Or, is this Super Bowl or bust now with Micah Parsons? Or,
well, I think that has to be it, right? I mean, the price that you're paying, the caliber of player that it is at the premium position. I mean, we can kind of speculate and talk about what makes a Super Bowl team and, it's a good defense, good rush offense, good quarterback, stuff like that. I mean, pass rusher is it's one of those things like you have to have a good pass rush to be in contention for a Super Bowl, to win a Super Bowl. You should argue probably. It's hard to think of great Super Bowl teams that didn't have a great pass rush. So I think that's it's got to be a signal that this is an all-in kind of move. And I don't know if you're talking about Ed Policy, being the new president and everything. There's been some murmurs that are Goot and MLF on the hot seat. I don't think they're on the hot seat. I think it's more of like Ed needs to get in the seat and understand, like, all right, what's it going to take? Why haven't we achieved the goal to this point? He's got to evaluate everything for himself from perspective now. And I think that's really why he answers things the way he does, right? He's not going to commit to anything.
Mm-hmm.
It would be silly to commit to anything, even something as maybe obvious as the GM and the coach, because anything can happen. The wheels fall off of things all the time. And so, I think he seems like a sharp guy. He's been around the Packers for a while. He's not an outsider. I think the thing that the Packers need to be afraid of the most is having an outsider as a president. But I do think that this might be a little bit of him going, hey guys, look, we've been going at this thing now for a few years post Aaron Rodgers, right? There was like the 2020, the 2021, 2022, reload it, go all in. They had those years where they kind of let Aaron Rodgers be the GM to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we tried that. Okay, it didn't work. Now you've reloaded here after, for a few years. I've been saying it most of the offseason. I feel like all the pieces are there where it is your kind of put up or shut up season. It's that for Jordan Love. It's that for several players across the offense. It's that certainly for a lot on the defense, right? The defensive line, Devontae White, Quay Walker, like those guys got to put up or shut up. You got contracts coming up, so I think it's that way for a lot. But then you also look at it from the numbers perspective, because it's like, yeah, you got the salary cap, you got the picks that you got to give up. I think you're at that point where you're like, look, man, we don't necessarily need those next 2 first-round picks, right? Like, we got guys. We're not sitting here going, well, if we had 5 more guys, you're really looking at it like, if we got that one guy, you probably have what you need. And I'd say Micah's that guy, So, yeah, Super Bowl or bust, man.
Hey, you're here first, but and you look at it, so it's interesting. Obviously, we talked about Lucas Van Ness and kind of like him needing to prove it and maybe being a bust and all that. And it looks like, obviously, and I'm not sure how this is going to go, but ESPN already has obviously Micah Parsons at the right defensive end and Lucas Van Ness, backing him up. So really, I mean, you'll see what maybe the goal would be that, help Lucas Van Ness kind of continue to learn. And, but he's really just going to be a backup then, because you got Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons, for the foreseeable future, I believe. I don't know what Gary's contract is, but, maybe Van Ness becomes a trade, bait sometime, but he's got potential. He just hasn't done much. And obviously now he's not going to be asked to do much.
Well, and he's had a good training camp. A lot of people have been pretty positive about his training camp. I think it's almost like the no-hitter. Like, nobody wants to jinx it. It's like, hey, I think he's doing good. Shut up. Don't talk about it. Because he has, he looks like he's taken that step. He's looked like he's, developing into the guy that they drafted with, I think it was like the 12th overall pick or something like that. And if you got that and he's your backup, are you kidding me, man? Like, you want a deep stable. The team that I think of is the Giants back in the day, man. It felt like every last one of their defensive linemen was a Pro Bowler at some point.
Yeah.
Like, they just were stacked.
Yeah.
And, they go off and they whoop the Patriots after their perfect season, So I look at it that way. Like, I don't necessarily look at it like, oh, man, you spent the 12th pick, but he's not even a starter. It's like, yeah, but the guy in front of him might be the best defensive player in the league this year,
Yeah.
Like, I'm not really going to be upset about that. And if those are the 2 that are rotating, you're going to be fresh and you're going to be confident about who's on the field. Like, there's a lot of benefit to that. So I don't necessarily look at it as like a down thing for Lucas Van Ness. But yeah, could he be a trade piece? For sure. I would have honestly like, if they looked at him that way, I would have expected it to be part of this deal. I was kind of surprised that a pass rusher wasn't part of the deal.
Well, and you look at this deal then, it's interesting because obviously it happened, and you kind of look at the why. Dre, as a Vikings fan, why would the Packers make this move?
Okay, I like that.
I mean, I guess, you think about it, like the cost of Parsons, like the amount of teams in the league that are able to afford that. Like, it is especially at the contract year, trying to be able to find a way to afford that is kind of difficult. It's not just like a trade and then you're just going to like figure it out in a couple of years. It's you got to figure it out now. And I would have loved the Vikings to take him, but we have some cap space, but we're not going to spend that money on him. Like, we don't need that, and there aren't a lot of teams that are able to be able to pay that right now, and I think like the deal, like what, it's a 4-year deal now, right? So they like basically figured out like the negotiation, like basically as the trade was happening, slightly before. I don't know how you want to put it.
I think they know how to do that. Yeah, it was. I think
it's one of those things that like there aren't many teams that are gonna want to do that, and I think like obviously like Miles and I have like gone a little bit back and forth on X and stuff. It's like Jerry wasn't really willing to legally like give him the right amount of money, so it was just like they wanted to trade, and they're just going to arguably find the one team that is willing to pay it, and honestly the Packers were. So at a certain point it's just finding the right deal and getting it out of one person's hair. But yeah, I don't know, like I think Parsons deserves what he's getting paid. Obviously, I think honestly in the entire league everyone is overpaid, but at the same time, like, yeah, that's kind of the business. It is what it is, and Jerry Jones is a cheapskate at the end of the day. So it's yeah. So yeah, I think it's all business, but it's kind of because Jones is involved, it's kind of shady. So I don't know.
I just hate the way he approached it, man. Jerry Jones, I can't stand that guy. And he really tried to turn people against Parsons on this. And he goes around. I don't know if y'all heard that story about, mama and daddy. Like he goes on with these reporters and basically makes Micah sound like a child trying to get away with something. It's like, dude, are you kidding me?
That's not going to play well to other. That's not going to play well to other players in the locker room either.
No, not at all. That's a terrible look, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's known this contract has been coming up. The thing that bothers me about Jerry is when he can, what that looks like. It looks like a Dak contract. Dak, who's maybe a top 15 quarterback right now in the league, but he's, one of the top paid and has been for years now. And, it's stuff like that where it's like, dude, like approach this smarter. And he just never has. He blows his load on certain contracts when he's got the money to do so, and then doesn't think about what's coming after that.
And I feel like he's always done offense. I mean, even back to Emmitt Smith, it's always been the offense. And obviously there's a reason why they have not been to the Super Bowl and won it since, man, I was in high school. I mean, it's crazy.
It's been a while, man.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. It's been a while. Yes. So you had a chance, Dre, to say why, to answer why. I actually have a reason. I know exactly why the Green Bay Packers made this move for Micah Parsons. It's quite evident. It is quite evident that they're absolutely terrified of Caleb Williams. They're terrified of what he is, and they're terrified of the playmaking that he's going to do. They had to do something when they saw him in training camp, and when they saw him kind of, developing paired with Ben Johnson. Oh my gosh, they were terrified. They said, you know what? We have to compete. We have to go get Micah Parsons, or, we're not going to beat the Bears. We already almost lost with a broken coaching staff twice. And so, Miles, I think the Packers were terrified of losing to the Bears twice in 2025.
What I think was the spark that actually, like lit that fire for them.
Yeah.
I think it was your shirts. I think somebody saw that Caleb's crib shirt and they're like, no, sir. This is not Caleb's crib. We're gonna get Caleb out of here. We're gonna get the Caleb Hunter in here. I mean, you go after one of the best pass rushers in the league, make a statement. Yeah, man. I don't think they liked your shirts.
That is quite evident. I think I've been prominent on Twitter, on X, on that, and I feel like all the Packers follow me and all that. So
yes,
but I love that you went on and tried to do Micah's crib. Now we have to come up with something else. It's Micah's something, but I'm sure we'll come up with something. But I mean, tell you what though, I think this division it was already interesting. I think we're going to be talked about anyway because of the Lions, because, the Vikings now being, relevant, although I don't know if they'll be relevant this year. We'll just kind of go there. and the Bears are kind of coming up. And so you missed it last night. Both of you actually were not here last night. We had our pod went through the schedule, and Minnesota, the Minnesota guy that was on there, not you, Dre, because I know you're a little bit more even keel. He said the Vikings were going to win 13 games, and that's just crazy talk to me. I said the Vikings were going to go 7-10, and now, I mean, this might even shift everything with that. So, I mean, Dre, this has to make you worried about the season a little bit more, doesn't it?
I don't think it changes too much about how I view how they're going to play. I mean, obviously, like, yeah, Parsons, like, the skill set, like, does worry me a little bit, but at the same time, Packers are two games, you know, so like, and one of them's in Minnesota, obviously. So it's, I mean, I don't think it changes my view on the overall season. I think it's obviously a new, I guess, a new piece of information that, like, obviously we have to, like, defend on. Having said that, if he's going up against, like, Darisaw, like, if they put him on Darisaw a lot of the time, Darisaw is a very good offensive lineman. And I think, like, I mean, nothing against Parsons, but I think, like, that's going to be a fun battle in the trenches to watch. So, like, I think, and they have, like, with Darisaw, they have, like, he's not on any injury list going into week 1, so he's back. They're bringing him back, like, full head. So I think that's going to be a good time to watch when it comes. So I think, like, generally speaking, I wouldn't say 13 wins. I mean, obviously, if it happens, I'll be all for it. I'm more still on a I think 10. I think that's my hope for the season. I think that's a good overall season for me. And if it goes more than that, lovely. I love it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, we didn't get a chance this week to go through the Packers and the Bears. Next week, we're going to do that, Packers and Bears. And this is definitely going to change what I thought. I might even give the Packers another win for this. But, I mean, you look at it, obviously, Micah Parsons is a huge talent, right? But he's just one player. He's going to influence the defense. He's going to influence things for sure. But when you look at, being able to defend against him, and I really haven't had a chance yet, but I'd like to kind of go back and look at the stats versus the 49ers, because I think the 49ers found a way to really defend him. There are ways that defenders or defensive coordinators and defenders can guard against one player. Now, Rashawn Gary, he's a good player as well, right? So you got some solid players there, but it's one player. Game plan against him, go the other way. Caleb, roll out the other way. There you go. I'm down for that.
So the Packers did it in the playoffs a couple years ago. Micah was a non-factor in that game.
So obviously, it's the splash news, and it's my job, though, as a Bears fan, to throw cold water on it. So that's, when you look at it, obviously, I was not happy he went there, but I don't know. I mean, when you look at it overall, there are ways to defend him, and I think now this obviously will give, teams a chance in the division to at least look at it. So,
well, let me ask you this. So, we have a close comparison, at least a few years ago, when the Bears, just completely hijacked Khalil Mack right out from underneath the Packers. In hindsight, do you regret that? Because, I mean, it was a similar compensation package.
So that has obviously been made on a couple different levels. And obviously I'll answer your question first and then go to the other level on that. Sure. So, absolutely. So at the time, and Khalil Mack, I mean, the problem was, like, he was just destroying people in practice. So yeah, absolutely. At the time, for sure, I was excited about it. Okay. And you look back and at the compensation, I still think the Bears, I mean, they got better in the time. And I was trying to think, even when they traded him, oh gosh, was it when he traded him away? They won that trade as well.
Okay.
So when you look at Khalil Mack, that is very that was the splash move. And I think what happened with the Bears, they had a defensive coach, right? And at that time, and but where did it get us? Did it get us the Super Bowl?
That's what I mean. Yeah, it didn't get you a Super Bowl. You handed over a few first-round picks. You know, did that sting? Was it worth it?
At the time, absolutely. At the time, I was excited. But yeah, when you look at it, I mean, for the splash move in the moment, problem is, and here is my opportunity to give the Packers a little kudos. I try to always stay on the side, err on the side of against Packers, but the Bears front office at the time, they got Khalil Mack, but they just didn't know what else to do, kind of to surround, with the whole team, and the Packers, as much as it pains me to say this, they know what they're doing as far as surrounding talent, and they have a quarterback who obviously I still have doubts about, but he has the talent, and so they have some of the pieces and they have things surrounding. What I do love about that offense is Josh Jacobs. I'm picking him up in fantasy football. All right. And,
yes.
Even as a Bears fan, I'm picking him up. So they have that stability. The Bears didn't have that. They didn't have, so they had Khalil Mack, and I take a look at the roster and everything like that back. But the Packers have a quarterback who's been paid as well. And so obviously you have a lot of issues right now, or from the outside looking at wide receiver wise, but if you can rely on that run and rely on some different things offensively, and maybe with Micah Parsons, maybe this makes games less of a shootout, right? And maybe you don't have to score as many points. But that first game is going to be interesting with the Lions. Obviously, seventh letter is all in on his Lions again. I think now, I might have to change that now. So last night on the podcast, I had the Lions beating the Packers in week 1. I don't know about this now.
I think the odds have shifted to the Packers now.
I think so. I mean, it is at Green Bay, and you have this new coaching staff, unproven coaching staff against, going to be a talented front. So, that's going to be interesting. So, what are your thoughts on the Khalil Mack trade and all that? And how
because at the time I was upset, man, and even knowing the compensation, one, going to the Bears, like what But two, it was very similar hype leading up to. It's like, oh, the Packers are in on this. Like this could be happening, And
2 first-round picks signed, 6-year, $141 million extension. Yeah. So
very similar. I think that it's less right, because there was also some things besides Khalil Mack that the Bears got in return. And then they sent more picks, but I think net it's similar. And the reason that I actually ended up being okay with losing out on Khalil Mack is because they came around and got Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith in free agency, and I believe those two.
We all got the Zadarius though.
Yeah, well, we got him first. Y'all got all the sloppy afters.
Yeah.
But anyway, no. Well, he hasn't made it around to the Bears yet, has he?
Thankfully not. No. Okay. So the Bears acquired Mack from trade with the Raiders, along with the 2020 second and 6th-round picks they spent on Cole Kmet. So they, Cole Kmet even in that trade. So the Bears got Mack and Cole Kmet. I like that. So
I mean, that's a solid trade, and you did send a few more than picks than the Packers sent. But like net, it's comparable. I was okay with the way it shook out because you sign the 2 guys in free agency and you don't end up giving up any assets for them.
Yeah.
You got similar production, I believe, with the two combined, compared to Khalil Mack. So overall, it felt like the Packers were better off because they didn't have to give up any draft assets. But they were also in a different place back then. I mean, that was early years of Goot. He was still picking up some pieces from Ted Thompson and figuring some things out with Aaron Rodgers. I think they're in a very different place than they are now. And someone was making the comment on Twitter. I can't remember who it was, but they're saying, well, we got these guys before. You got Favre and White, but then you had to go off and you had to get a few more things to get around them. And you had Rodgers and Woodson. You had to go off and get a few more things to put around them. But now you've got Love and Parsons, but you don't have the assets to go put stuff around them. And it's like, first of all, like they've done that part already. I mean, and I know I'm biased and homer and all that, but
yeah,
when we go down the roster, there's just not a lot of positions that I'm uncomfortable with. We've got depth at those, at a lot of positions too.
Yeah,
and thinking of it that way, it's like, what do you want? What else do you want? Like, we got our first round receiver that everybody's just been dying to have. We got that. We checked that box. Now you got your premier pass rusher. You got your talented quarterback. You got all these boxes checked. And we even got a badass safety and a running back. I mean, we're just going down the line. You don't need anything else. This was the piece. So that's where I'm okay with the compensation of saying, yeah, you know what? 2 more first round picks. I can handle that. Especially when I think about it, kind of in a little bit more of a one-on-one basis. One-on-one, yeah, give me Micah Parsons for whoever we would draft next year with a first round pick.
For sure, yeah.
But when you're looking at Goot's first round picks, they haven't been great. We've hit a few times here and there, but would I combine Jordan Morgan and Devontae Wyatt for Micah Parsons? yeah, I would
for sure.
So that's why I look at it.
I'm shaking my head because I had just tweeted out, I don't know, a few days ago this week that it's about time. It's a season for the overhype of the Packers to the Super Bowl MVP. All that's it's predicted from the media, and it just this is only going to exacerbate that. It's going to inflame that, and it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. Now. And I live in Wisconsin, so I'm going to have to deal with it on a daily basis, and so I am not ready for that. And obviously, as a Bears fan, I'm going to have to wait several weeks to actually, of the season,
we're gonna be in the season before we even get to clash. Yeah,
and I don't know about you, Dre, but it's gonna be, if the Packers beat the Lions in week 1, it's the Packers fans are gonna be insufferable, absolutely insufferable,
totally insufferable. I'm gonna be upset about it. I'm gonna be so sick of hearing all this stuff flying around from Packers Twitter. But you know what? I'll dump some cold water on myself here.
Love that.
I will say it almost feels too good to be true. It feels like there's too many things going the Packers' way. It feels like it's going to be one like, in 2011 when they went 15-1 and then lost the first round of the playoffs. It almost feels like there's too much going in their favor. So I almost I don't want to hear all the hype because then that usually backfires too. But there's no way around it now. It's going to be hype machine up to 100 at this point. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. That's why they play the game, right?
And this came at a good time too, because obviously I was reading stuff about Jordan Love. Obviously, he's still got the thing on his hand. He's kind of going to have to just go, worry about, deal with, So, So obviously I heard this news and I had some choice words for my Packer fan co-workers. And they didn't even believe me. And I said, "Yep, here it is, Schefter with the news." But Dre, we have some solace here. All right, so we all do fantasy football, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would almost and hope to equate this as you have your fantasy football player who's not all that serious, who kind of pays attention to the big names, and back in the day it was like, oh, Tom Brady's coming about, oh, I want to get that guy, and so hopefully Micah Parsons is a huge name, right? And for great reason. I mean, look at his stats. All right. His stats, I had them up here. 2024, he had 13 games played, 30 tackles, 13 assisted, 43 combined, 12 tackles for loss, and 12 sacks. 2023, played in 17 games, 36 tackles, 28 assisted, 64 combined, 18 tackles for loss, and 14 sacks, 13.5 sacks 2022, and 13 sacks in 2021. So obviously he's consistently been a great player. I'll give you that. But
and only one other player has produced 12 sacks or more in their first 4 seasons. Who is he? Who is he? Come on, guys. Who is he? Who is he going to be? Reggie White, baby. Reggie White, baby. Reggie White. That's some rare company right there, man.
So he's a big name. He's absolutely a big name. It's possible, Dre, come on, go with me here. Come on. It's possible that he could just be a name and could be, maybe lost in that defense. Maybe he only has like 5 or 8 sacks. And a player that they gave away. Who did the Packers give away from Micah Parsons?
Kenny Clark, which I actually, I was a little bummed about. I'm a big Kenny Clark fan.
In 2023, had 8 sacks. 8 sacks in 2023, I believe, if those are the stats correct.
He probably did. Yeah, I wouldn't fight you on that. He did have a down year last year, but he was playing through an injury, and it's pretty. I think I mentioned it already. Like they did not like that D-line coach last year. He got fired pretty quick at the end of the season, and they're pretty happy with the guy they have now. I was really expecting a bounce back season from Kenny Clark. I thought he was going to have a good season for the Packers. So I don't look at him as like he's almost washed. I know he's about to turn 30. I don't look at it. I look at him like a guy who's probably going to be playing at a high level till he's 35. Like he's that dude. He takes care of business. He works hard, and he's consistent. He has been a beacon of consistency with the Packers. So that was not a loss, right? Like that was a loss.
Yeah. So Dre, go with me on this. Are you here with me on this? Micah Parsons can be a bust. Is that correct? Is there a path? As
injuries happen.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he arguably like last season, he was out for I think
it was 5 games.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So like you said, injuries happen. I think that it comes down to like people are gonna obviously plan for him. Like at this point of his career, he's going to be prepared for, and I think like it really depends on just how the rest of the team goes, because everyone knows at this point that Parsons is really good. No one's doubting that.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, you can affect the game externally from you playing. You look at just like honestly the Vikings offense, like Jefferson affects the game even if he has like 2 catches in the entire game for 10 yards. Totally. Like if somebody else is going 100 yards, that's him affecting the game. Mm-hmm. So like Parsons can come down to it, and like that can like Gary could have like a really great year, and Quay Walker, or like I liked him like because I play with the fantasy with IDPs. I had him like every now and again, like I was able to put him in because generally like he could produce, and that's without Parsons. Yeah. So like you add in Parsons in there, and like they're going to put a lot of their offense and offensive line toward him. So yeah, his stats may go down, but that just means that like the rest of the defense, is doing really well at the same time. So I'm with you that I honestly hope that his stats are down and he does not make an impact that he does, but at the same time, he is a very skilled player. So okay, I've liked him, like honestly on the Cowboys, like outside of the Cowboys organization, I liked him as a player.
Yeah, that obviously a good point. Yeah, if you play IDP, obviously a lot of people are going to go for the name at IDP. You're going to go Micah Parsons. You're going to pay heavily at fantasy, but yeah, that is a great point. If you play fantasy IDP, individual defensive players, go for those other players because he's going
to Cooper.
Cooper, I think might have
people are like really hyping him up to have thinking he might have an all-pro type season without Micah Parsons next to him.
Yeah.
So here's my where I was going with this. Here's my my hope is that you had Kenny Clark, who had eight sacks, not this year but previous year. If he has less than 8 sacks, maybe you actually miss Kenny Clark. I don't know what the over-under has to be for Packer fans, or for me as a Bears fan, to kind of start the Micah is a bust train. But you go with if he has less than 8 sacks, is that not a bust, or is that unsuccessful season in 2025 for Micah Parsons?
It depends on how it happens. I think what would really, like, if you're looking at it to be a potential net loss for the Packers in 2025 season, it would be in the run stopping game. It's in your run defense, because that's where a lot of people are looking at this going, okay, well, if you're going to get rid of Kenny, I sure hope Devontae Wyatt's ready to kick it in gear, and we've got some good D linemen, but what I've seen from them is that they excel at the pass rush. We've struggled to stop the run. Now, last year, we actually did much better stopping the run. Kenny Clark was a part of that, and he wasn't playing his best last year, but he was still playing. So I think that's where that would show, and we'll find out. We'll see how prepared those guys are to step in behind Kenny. But that's where you would probably see it more than anything, is in the run stop. Because Micah's, from what I've heard, he's not a great run stopper either. Not that he's bad. He's just that's not where he's being brought in to impact the game. He's obviously a pass rusher. So that could be a thing, And if you don't have a good run stopping defense, it's tough. It can be tough to win those close games at the end, because then teams can run the ball on you and play keep away. But I don't think that'll happen. I think the reason, you can't jettison Kenny Clark unless you're confident in the guys behind him. And they have been. I don't think anybody saw this coming as far as Kenny Clark getting traded. I certainly would never have guessed that. I would have thought they might have traded somebody else on the D-line besides him. But they've got confidence in all of those guys, including Nazir Stackhouse, who's an undrafted free agent. Where's number 93, big man on the defense. I think he's like 6'5", 330, 340. He's a big boy. Replacing the TJ Slayton type that we lost from last season. So you got some guys in there that are capable of it. It just kind of comes down to, where are they at in their game? And this is where I again draw back to the D-line coach. The stark difference in how they've talked about that and how much that's been brought up by people who don't have to bring it up, right? Like, I like to kind of latch onto things that people don't have to say. If you're talking to a GM or a coach, and they're bringing stuff up, it's like sometimes it sounds like coach speak or blah, 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 but it's actually like there's a nugget there. And they've consistently talked about how the D-line coach was a problem last year and that they love the new guy that they've got this year. So if these other guys that were behind Kenny are coming along developmentally really well now with the new coach, I could see why they'd be willing to send Kenny off. But that's where it'll happen. It'll be in the run game probably. Now Micah being who he is, if he's healthy and he's on the field, man, I just don't see him getting less than 10 sacks. He's a freak. He's an absolute freak.
Well, that's a great point. All great points there. I love that. Obviously, you so much knowledge that you bring, Miles. Always enjoy the stuff here, so that was fantastic, because when you look at it, everybody's going to say, oh, Micah Parsons, big name, but there might potentially be drawbacks. Obviously, you had some great points that, they have some young players that you don't make this move if you're not excited about those players. Now, obviously there's a little bit of a loss, but I'm sure they kind of do, that assessment. And at this time, the Packers obviously thought they needed to make this move, and obviously, making a move like this, it kind of says, I don't know if Super Bowl or bust, but playoffs. I mean, contender. You have to be a contender. You don't make this move if you think you're just going to be average. If you think you're just going to be, middle of the road.
No. I mean, this is a Super Bowl or bust move, especially because the Packers doing it. You've seen other organizations that make some kind of splashy deals, and it's almost like they do it just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
It worked for the Rams. You know, they made some big deals. They sent off draft capital and kind of, you know, emptied the bank account there, and they got a title out of it, you know, and then they had some poverty years after that, and now they're climbing out of that hole. Hopefully the Packers don't have to make such a deep dip into that afterwards. I think that's where these guys, I trust them to be very calculated in this thing. You know, I don't think this came about from the hip. Yeah, I think they've been thinking about this for a while. And now even the timing of it, you know, getting a training camp to see even, you know, down to the D-line coach, like how do these guys take to the D-line coach, this new guy, and getting to see like, okay, I think these guys can handle it. Maybe we are willing to let go of Kenny. That's not something you could have done in the spring or before the draft. So I think these guys have been cooking on this for a while. And that's where it's like, you know, when people bring up the financial concerns and stuff, I'm like, yeah, but you think they aren't thinking about that? Like these guys are thinking about Jerry Jones is not thinking about that. You can be confident. He's got to restructure contracts all the time. So yeah, you know, he's not thinking about it. But when the Packers make a move like this, I go, yeah, I guarantee they did their homework, and I'm not going to lose any sleep about it. Even if it does mean, you know, maybe some down years ahead, dude, I've never seen the Packers this motivated to go and get it. The year that we won the Super Bowl in 2010 was kind of not a fluke, but it was, nobody was predicting that. You know, there was a wild card run. So, you know, if anything, there was a load 'em up year in 2011. So we haven't seen that in a long time. And so, yeah, as a Packers fan, I'm jacked. I don't, to hell with the future right now.
You know, that's really all it is. I mean, you have to be all in on the season if you have the pieces, and obviously the Packers, you know, front office and fans think they do. So, you know, obviously, you know, appreciate your insights. Appreciate you coming on, Dre, as well. You know, Dre, as we close out, where can everyone find you, sir?
Yeah, you can find me on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. That's Coleman Sports. Always appreciate coming on, even in emergency situations. So yeah, I appreciate coming on. Who would have thought, like, within 24 hours, these types of trades came about? Like, I was happy earlier on when, like, Thielen got traded to the Vikings, but then I was just like, whoa, that's a fun aspect.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Thielen. What a trade that was. That's crazy.
I don't know. I like Thielen, but I don't think he's going to be much. But hey, that's what you.
He's replacing Addison for weeks 1 through 3. That's what he's doing. That's it is. And he'll work in the system because he knows it. For sure. And I mean, there was an interview here today that he said that's just like, I didn't think I was going to be here again until I signed that 1-day contract. I mean, to be honest, a lot of fans, including myself, thought the exact same thing.
Oh, of course.
So if we can get something out of him, like, I'm fine with it. You know, like, it's like one of those things, like the storybook player comes home type of thing. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, Dre, did you hear that he's from Minnesota?
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, yes. Thanks. Yes, obviously.
Oh, that was good.
All right, yeah,
you could heard that I think he started off on special teams and worked his way up. You know, like, I feel like that's a story somewhere. I don't know, maybe
it's Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. I believe I was there in that area, living in that area when he was growing up. I'd have to look at exactly the timeline, but yeah, I spent some time in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. Yep.
Look at that, man. You're just all over the NFC North.
All over except for in Illinois. How about that?
Yes.
It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Well, and you can find me on NFL Outdated on YouTube, on Twitter X. Obviously, I'm going to be having fun with this and looking at my bear angles for this trade as well, as always. But you know, I'm so glad that you called this podcast, Miles. Always love your takes, and it's perfect timing for that. And where can everyone find you as we close out?
Oh, man, appreciate it. I love jumping on talking with you guys. It doesn't matter emergency situations or not. But no, I appreciate that, Andy. You can find me on the Pack Weekly Pod every Monday night, 9:30. We're gonna be diving into this Parsons trade on Monday. I can promise you that. We're gonna have some fun.
It's gonna be lit.
Yes, we had a whole podcast about this back in like March or something. I can't remember when it was, but we've already I've been pulling on this string. So yeah, I'm excited to have a whole pod. Come join us on Monday night, 9:30, Packers Talk Network YouTube channel. Come hang out.
Lots of great stuff. Definitely like and subscribe all his stuff as well. And you can find us normally on Wednesdays, 9:30 CST, and our regular crew next week. And we'll have to have you back as well, Miles. But we'll be breaking down the Bears and Packers, and obviously things are going to change in our minds now because of this. So hey, lots of stuff as we get ready for the season. Once again, this is the Freezin NFC North Podcast, episode 150 on the Micah Parsons trade. Thanks again, everybody, and have a great night.